What's happening, guys? J2K here. I'm going to do a little spoiler review of The Last Ronin issue 2. If I have to say one thing about it, it would be holy sh**. So let's get into a spoiler review of The Last Ronin 2. If you haven't watched my first video on The Last Ronin issue 1, then please click back and check it out. I'm going to try and be very quick with this review. I don't want to get into every single tiny little detail. If you want to talk about that stuff, feel free to hit me up or comment down below and we can talk all day and night about it. But I just want to go over a couple of the key points that I really enjoyed and some of the points that really just stood out for me myself, and I'd love to hear what you guys really enjoyed as well. So the big thing for me was we start seeing Casey and April settling down, quite obviously about to tell the Turtles about an engagement, when Raph bursts through the door, covered in blood, causing absolute chaos, talking about an ambush. We then get Splinter coming straight in. He's obviously been messed up, which is unreal. It's very hard to read as a Turtles fan. We have read it before, but this just hit home for some reason. I want to talk about how bad he's doing, and April's trying to calm everyone down and say let's focus on the main injuries. As this is happening, you can tell Raph and Case are getting really wound up, and they move on to say one of the best lines ever when they find out that Leo's still back there, and that's it's body count time. Now if you haven't read the book or you don't know of the book, there's actually a Raph and Casey book called Body Count. It is a bit controversial because some people love it, some people hate it, but it's still good to see a little nod to that comic. At that point in time we see Leo come in and tell him to stand down. Now I love this because Leo came in and he was like a straight leader. Now Leo's always been the leader, but this really felt like he was just telling everyone to stand down, and the whole room heard him. No arguments for Raph, no nothing. So they've been ambushed by the Foot and Keru, so we're wondering why this has happened, but again we don't really find out, we just know that everyone's pretty pissed off. By the time that everything sort of plays out, we realise that Raph is actually gone. Casey's still standing about, which was quite cool though, because I did like the fact that it seemed like he's matured up, but at the same time when shit was going down, he's the first one to grab his bat and be like, let's fucking go. So that's definitely the Casey I would like to see in the future. At this point we're jumping back and forth from the future and the past, which is great because this is kind of what I wanted to see in the book. I did want to see a lot of the past, not too much of it, but I did also want to see a wee bit of the future. So we see that April's pretty much fucked up too. She's got an arm missing and a leg missing. There was kind of a misdirect, but I don't know if it was a misdirect. It was to me, and then it wasn't until later on and I thought about it. I was like, of course. But she kind of wakes up and she's talking to Casey to get a hand, and she looks over and sees the mask in his bag in the corner. And I was kind of thinking, oh fuck, is she seeing the same thing that Mikey's having with the ghosts and, well, the ghosts or the spirits, whatever you want to call it, of his brothers? I was thinking she might be having the same with Casey. Obviously later on the daughter comes into play, so we know that she was maybe talking to the daughter. Either way, I liked it, it was really nicely done. So we'll go back to what happens with Raph. Like I say, I'm going to jump back and forth. I'm not going to go through it full the way the issue had. I'm just going to go through the bullet points that I really enjoyed in this. So we see Raph fuck off and start destroying cunts. So originally he finds out exactly where they are, and when he turns up you just see him mauling. I mean, this guy's like, the way you're reading it, it's like a car just smashing through people because you just see blood fly everywhere, and I know that's a horrible analogy I just used, but it generally just seemed like that because he was just steam trucking it through them. So he was smashing through this Foot and some of the elite guards like they were nothing, and this just shows how crazy strong the Turtles have got. I mean, they've always been strong, but Raph just destroying them like they're nothing. Not only is that his anger, but you can see that he's got a lot stronger than he used to be. Not saying that he was ever weak, but to do that type of damage is unreal. So he's smashing through them, and you can see he's getting hit. There is some hits going in, but this is not stopping him. He wants Keru. That's who he's going for. He doesn't give a fuck about the soldiers. He's just mauling them. He just wants to get to her, quite understandably. So as he gets to her, they start fighting, and it's a blow for blow fight. This was so entertaining and so beautifully drawn. So they're blow for blow for blow, and then eventually fall into the water where the last blows kind of hit. Now, unfortunately, Raph takes one right under there, you know. I don't know if you could say if it was the throat or if it's gone straight up to the brain, but either way, he got like done. Like there's no coming back to that. It does look like he's maybe hit a blow to her, and that maybe explain why we've seen what we've seen in the first issue. But let's forget about her. No one really cares about her at this point. At this point, you're just so engrossed with the fact that Raph just died, and I have to say, what beautiful art that was. Like, the most beautiful part of this entire book, and I mean, I love the fact that we had different art styles. We even got some Eastman in it. It was absolutely stunning. But see, watching the scythe just go up in the water, that was just stunning. It was so beautifully done. It was such a good idea. We are seeing what Raph last seen, and it just, I cannot explain how beautiful that is. I would love that as a poster or a print. That is so nice. So yeah, that's like such a sad part. By the way, I did call it. I just want to say that just now. I did call it. I know I got the last Ronin wrong, but I did say Raph was going to be the first one to die, and this is how he would die. He'd just run in like fucking straight angry, and he did. So that, wow, like just wow. There's no other words for that entire fight scene. That the rest of this book could have been garbage. It wasn't. The rest of the book could have been garbage just for that fight scene alone. But anyway, let's get back to it. So we'll go back into what's happening in the future. So at this point, we've kind of got Mikey back up on his feet, which is quite surprising because remember, he did just fall from a building, and he's talking to his brothers, you know, and he's, again, it's a good atmosphere. They're kind of like bickering, the typical turtles that we have, but you do see it get a bit darker than normal, because he flips on Raph like straight away. I thought this was good because it kind of did have that emotion. You've just read, like, you're reading about Raph dying, so you reading how pissed off he is at his brothers is just unreal, and feeling that anger he has towards Raph, because you know it's a loving anger. It's not that he's angry at him himself, he's just so angry. Like, he knows that if he hadn't ran away on his own, there's a big chance he'd still be here if they just stood down like he was told, but that's something we will never ever know. So the biggest point that then comes onto that is what April says to Mikey, and that's, she points out how fast he's healed and asks if maybe his mutation has changed in any way. Now, I've noticed this, and a lot of other turtle readers have noticed this. Like, he's looking buff. I mean, like, properly buff in this. And so the other turtles, I might add, like, they're generally, like, I don't know if it's just a new drawing style, but I think they're actually going for the fact that they're muscled up. I mean, the turtles have always been, like, a good physique, but these look, it's like Arnie style, you know? Like, they're properly ready to go, man. They're tanks. There's no other word for it but tanks. But we also see that the healing factor's got a lot stronger. Now, they do touch on this later on, and I don't want to kind of get into it until I get to that point, because I don't want to jump around too much. But he's definitely got a better healing power, so I wonder what's happening with that mutation. I'm angry with Raph, which is great, because especially my second time reading it, it meant so much more when you knew what was going to happen and you knew that they were going to lose Raph. So what I did is I actually read this on its own, then I read the first issue, then the second issue, like just sitting down and just read them together, and then I then went back and read it. So I think I've read it 3 times so far. It has not lost its entertainment whatsoever. So we now see Casey come into play. Now, not the Casey that we know and love, the new Casey, which I'm sure we will grow to love as well, and that's daughter Casey. So she walks in, they finally get to meet each other. Now, we already know that Mikey and Casey had met, but obviously Mikey was pretty much almost dead at that point. He was completely wiped out. So it was good to see a conscious meeting of them. And at this point, you're starting to click where they are. I mean, I had a bit of a feeling, especially with the way he was making tea and how it looked, but they actually are in the Turtles' Den, which is so awesome. I love that they've took over that area. And again, we start to find out that Casey's actually been training in there. Now, I'm kind of jumping ahead because I want to talk about the big bad, but I just absolutely love the fact that they are based in the Turtle Den. Like, so you know that they've always been surrounded with our 4 brothers, because even though the 4 brothers are family, you always knew April and Casey were their family as well. You always knew that. Anyone that tries to dispute that, you're wrong. I don't really care what you say, you're wrong. They have always been their family. Get into the big bad, Oraku. Or, I'm sorry, I'm Scottish, so that I may sound horrible when I say that. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but that's how I say it, Oraku. So we're trying to get a feel for him in the first issue. Now, I kind of felt like, he doesn't seem like a big bad, he seems more like a kid having a tantrum. So I'm really glad we got to see what we did. Now, it was only a short clip, really, but we see him training, and obviously one of his foot managed to hit him, and he's kind of says thank you, but then out of nowhere just slashes his throat and is like, nah, I can't have anyone compete with me. Like, if you're good enough to hit me, then you need to die. That was just cold-hearted. I mean, properly cold-hearted. You then cut to him talking to his captain, and he's saying that he wants this city torn apart to find this turtle. So you know that he's got a vendetta against him, and you know he really wants to fuck him up. But then he mentions the one thing, and this was just so damn cool. Like, I love dark Turtles. I love when the stories are dark. I grew up on the cartoon, but I love the darker Turtle stories. They've always just sat better with me. And then he points out, unless you want it to happen, what happened to the last captain, and we see this head just sitting on a pike, totally skinned, like he's took his face off, and you've got crows just picking at that. It was just so brutal. This just shows this guy's got, not only has he got a bloodlust, but he just does not give a fuck, man. Like, you could be in his team and he will take you out if you piss him off. He's the type of guy that if you look at him wrong, he's got to fuck you up. He ain't no Kylo Ren. Like, this is what I was worried about. I thought we were going to get a Kylo Ren style like villain here, where he was kind of like a kid having a tantrum, caught in the like old ways, wanting to be something that he's not. No, this motherfucker is cold-hearted. He's got Shredder in him. If anything, he might be one up for Shredder. I'm not saying power-wise, I'm just saying like cold-heartedness, and that's saying something. Let's get back to the family that we know and love. Casey, April and Mikey. So they're in the den and they're talking about a few things. The resistance come up, so there's actually a war already going on. So we know about the war in the past, which has caused, for what we know now, Splinter and Raph to die, and maybe the other brothers. But there's also a war going on in the present, which is great. It seems like we've got to get so much. I really don't know how they're going to do this in another 3 issues. I really do not know, and I really hope we've got to get a lot more stuff. I know they've said that there's probably got to be a prequel and a sequel, so I'm totally excited for that, but I think there's got to be a lot of cliffhangers. So the war that's going on now has been broken into layers, and they mention that they are part of the resistance. Now, April doesn't seem like she wanted Mikey to know anything about that just yet. I'm sure she did want him, but she didn't just yet. She kind of gave Casey the side look of shut the fuck up. So Casey takes him to show where she has been training. Now this was so cool because it turns out she's infatuated with the Turtles and Splinter. So it's so cool to see that she's been training where they train, but she couldn't understand all the stuff because, like she said, a lot of it is in a foreign language that she doesn't speak, which is again, it's so cool to see how absorbed she is, so how interested she is. Kind of get the fact that as much as she is Casey's daughter and she will have that badassery in it, it's good to see that she's got the martial arts side of it like the Turtles have. I think she's going to be a really cool and strong character for this. We then get to find out where's Mikey's been and what's been happening. So this is a build up to him becoming the last Ronin, and I like to see this because it shows that they actually had a sort of urban feel to it. You know, this is a story that they probably grew up hearing about the last Ronin and they probably idolised. So for him to start becoming it is unreal. However, he didn't expect to become it. He talks about how he left the city and just went into snowy mountains, which is so weird for him. Like, he talks about being cold-blooded, but I loved it because they are always city dwellers, so it's cool to see them go out into the wild. He kind of goes out and he talks about how he was ready to die and he just sat there. So this is going back to the mutation thing that I was talking about earlier on. He just sat there meditating. I don't know why I did that, because he quite clearly was meditating and didn't die. Now, the way he made it sound is he'd been doing this for a while, so the fact that starvation didn't kick in, dehydration didn't kick in, shows that maybe his mutation from there was getting stronger. Maybe it had been getting stronger, we don't know. I like to think, and this is again just speculation, I hate using that word by the way, I am no speculator, I do not buy spec books, I'm just saying this is my speculation to this story, is that his meditation there was him getting stronger, him growing the bond of the mutation in his body, just totally focusing down. We hear about it all the time when you folk talk about Buddhists that light their cell on fire. I like to think it's kind of that sort of thing where he's meditated so much that it's kind of like an inner peace. Now, he then says that humanity comes to find him, or well, the real world comes to find him, and unfortunately fortunately, it's these fucking idiots that obviously call him a monster, try and kill him and keep beating him. And at first he says he welcomes the pain, but the part I really loved is after he'd been welcoming this pain and kind of, you could tell he probably felt like he wanted it and he needed it because of what he's been through. He just clicks on, he's like, wait, these guys have no honour, these guys, like, and I love that because kind of as if I'm willing to die, but not if you don't have the honour to kill me, you know, like, if you've got honour, come and chop me up, do what you want, but not just a bunch of silly wee hooligans with sticks. And then from what it looks like, now it's not confirmed, but from what it looks like, he killed them motherfuckers, like, in my eyes 100%, he just mauled them. You see hands sitting there, either way they're probably not going to walk again. Like, if they're alive, they're barely alive. He messed them up. and that's where we start to see that he's kind of went on his own adventure. And I liked it because it's kind of like we found from meditation to the point where you see him kind of like growing his own food and fishing, you know. He's kind of went from meditation, inner peace, building his life around willing to just kind of do like what you see in these old action, well not old, but like you see in these action films where a sniper's went to go and live off in the woods and he never wants to see humanity again. He's kind of getting that feel, and then these idiots come along and he's like, nah, smashes them, and then he realises, you know what, actually I'm not ready to die, not until I at least die trying to kill the people who've done this to me. So that's where we have it. The Last Ronin's coming back. I'd like to see more. I hope the prequel will be more about that story. I hope we get a lot of books out of this, because the story's been absolutely tremendous. But I would like a proper sort of prequel Last Ronin to find out what exactly happened from his walk out there. Like the first couple of issues could be him generally just walking and talking to himself and dealing with the emotions that he's going through from losing his brothers and his dad and God knows who else, because again they did talk about earlier on in the book they're surprised that April's still alive, so he might actually thought she was dead as well, so he might think everybody's gone. So I'd like to see how he feels there, and then see him build up, smash these guys, and then just probably go on, because I imagine he's had more fights than that. He does kind of hint at it, but I'd like to see exactly where that falls under. I mean, that's really my key points of the book. Like I said, I didn't want to cover far too much because, and I know I did cover a lot of it, but there's a lot of other stuff that I didn't really point out, because I'd love to talk to you guys. This is the best part of me doing these videos, is not only do I get a chance to interact with new shellheads, but I also get to interact with people who are maybe shellheads that I never knew were shellheads. So please feel free to keep messaging me and talking about it. But before I go, let's talk about the one big thing. Now, I've been asked by multiple casual Turtle readers, what was it, who was it, what's going on. So as we all know, if you're a Turtles fan, April pulled out a showstopper, so to speak. On a friendly face we could call it, we got Fugitoid's head. Now I have no idea what's going on. Turtles fans are going mental. Is Fugitoid got to be in this? Is it going to be rebuilt? Is his entity still in there? Is someone else's entity in there? I mean, it's endless. Like, personally, I don't think there is another mind being uploaded to him. I don't think it'd be good to have any of the brothers, because if you only have one, it's kind of like, oh, well, why did you only pick him? That would kind of suck. If it is going to be anyone, I'd imagine it'd be Donnie, because he'd be the only one that could properly do that. It would be kind of cool if maybe Casey was in there, but I don't know how I feel about Casey in a robot body. But then you think, the fact, well, it's Fugitoid's body, so it's more than just a robot, like. But it would be quite cool to see Fugitoid with a Casey mask. I suppose that'd be kind of funny. I don't think this book has that type of feel to it. It is definitely, they've definitely pushed away from the more cartoon and funny side. This is definitely deep and dark, which I love. So I think Fugitoid might not come back, but I think there may be some secrets in his head that we need to get. Be it a weapon, a plan, or some sort of weakness in Oroku's Kingpin. Now, I say Kingpin because it does seem like he's got a big army behind him. It seems like he's got the city unlocked. That'd probably explain why there's people living underneath it, just trying to get by and also want to take this motherfucker out. Well, that's the spoiler review for The Last Ronin 2. I really hope you guys liked it. Please let me know if you liked the comic, and let me know how you feel about the next one coming up, what we might see, and who dies next. That's the big question. Who dies next? Anyway guys, like this video and subscribe to the page. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you all later.